Now, more stories, insights, and analysis of Illinois policy and politics. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute. Once again, your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Lauren Cohn. She's the host, a host of In the Loop on WYCC on Thursday evenings, 7 o'clock?
That's right,
7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Lauren, speaking of In the Loop, let's talk a little city of Chicago politics. Tiny Dancer continuing to pay out big settlements to families who have had a family member allegedly, at least, victimized by Chicago police. $4.5 million settlement this week for paid to the family of Rakia Boyd, a 2012 shooting victim of an off-duty Chicago cop. Of course, we know about the $5 million settlement that was inked with the Laquan McDonald's family last year that has led to so much controversy regarding his shooting as well as the mayor's handling of that shooting. And then concurrent to this, the mayor announces, well, these videos that have been so powerful that we sat on and that we tried to block from public release, even though they're public records. From now on, any cop-involved shooting, we're going to release the video within 60 days. Do you get the sense from the stories that you do, the people that you talk to, that Rahm Emanuel is beginning to recuperate from the move to recall him and all of the protesting that was done at the end of 2015 and into the early part of this year with these rather superficial reforms, quote-unquote, that he's advanced with respect to police?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a recall of Rahm Emanuel, but I think he shot himself in the foot for a future as the mayor of the city of Chicago. Yeah. I mean, he's lost his footing. He lost the support of the African-American community. He's doing things like bringing former police commissioner Charles Ramsey in from Philadelphia, who I'm a fan of, but he's paying him $350 an hour to give him a list of, ideas to, establish reform when it comes to the issue of police brutality. And
just on the Ramsey piece, and I know you were a reporter in Philadelphia, so you're very knowledgeable on the topic and Ramsey's performance there. But my understanding was that Ramsey was offered the job, and he didn't want the job. He just wanted to be a consultant because he doesn't want ownership of the police department, at least not during the Tiny Dancer era.
Well, Ramsey just retired from the Philadelphia Police Department, but years ago, he was in negotiations with the city of Chicago with Rahm Emanuel. And I was sitting in his office. I was on the process of one of my moves back to Chicago. And they basically couldn't come up with the money that Ramsey wanted for the job. And Rahm Emanuel tried. They went back and forth. And Ramsey, who grew up through the rank and file in Chicago, is from Chicago and had a kind of pretty distinguished career and didn't get the top job twice in Chicago, then left for Washington. Didn't, end up taking the job at the time. This time, I don't think he was looking for the job. The consulting is something that he's been doing for a while because he established in Philly that within 72 hours of a police-involved shooting, he would release the name of the police officer. He really started the programs in both Washington and in Philadelphia of more transparency when it came to so-called bad cops. So I think that on the one hand, hiring Ramsey is a good move. Ramsey also brought in the Justice Department when there were police-involved shootings and problems in Philly, is a good move in the sense of bringing somebody in who has a better perspective and a better relationship with the African-American community and a better relationship with the rank and file. Do I think it's going to help Rahm Emanuel? Do I think Rahm Emanuel really cares? No.
It's interesting thinking about the financial aspect of this. Perhaps that was an instance of this guy who was going to make the tough decisions and surround himself with talented people, top flight people. Sounded very much like Donald Trump. Who's on this? Top men, best people, best negotiators. It seems to me that may have been a case of being penny wise and pound foolish. A little bit more money to bring the right person in may have saved $5 million and $4.5 million settlements because you changed the police culture to some extent within CPD that where it needs to be changed. It seems like Ramsey was able to do that in Philadelphia to the benefit of not just the police there, but also the residents they protect and serve. And that seems to me where we are in Chicago, at least with respect to these shooting galleries on the west and south sides.
Well, what's interesting you brought up the Rakia Boyd case is that we heard about the $4.5 million settlement, which sort of was unusual because this case was such a debacle on so many levels. When you read what happened from beginning to end and the original charges, that were brought, and then the police officer, the judge ruling that he should have been charged with, a more stiffer crime and what really was going on in Alvarez's office. And, you talk about reform, and we keep seeing these examples since Laquan McDonald of how we didn't have transparency and this sort of code of silence with IPRA, with Anita Alvarez's office, with the police department, perhaps with the police union and the protection of police officers. That sort of all come to the forefront. And I think that we're going to see something better in the future. Rahm Emanuel changing his stripes or gaining some respect because he jumped out on this. I think people have lost their respect for Rahm Emanuel.
What if he put that Mr. Rogers cardigan sweater on again and did some commercials saying how he's been chastened and he's heard the people and he's going to be a kinder, gentler ballerina.
Didn't he say that in the runoff with Chewy? And then that changed in a New York Minute when all of this, I mean, come on.
Yeah, right. And so, and the real problem he has here, it's a twofold problem. The media focus, Chicago media focus is unidimensional because, they're kind of dumb. But it's a more complicated problem than that. There's a trust problem between minority populations and Chicago police. There's also a trust problem between Chicago police and the mayor's office, and this is why you have that important civic institution, the police department, disintegrating before our very eyes, just as the schools have, just as city finances have.
Right. And, even if you look at, have you read the police union contract? It's very lengthy, and I encourage people, I think it's public record, you can read it. It's very protective of police officers. It's very hard to bring charges against police officers or go through this process. I actually think that the Laquan McDonald case, as painful as this has been on so many levels of what has been corrupt and going on for a long time, what we didn't know about, that this has brought this to the forefront, that we will see change going forward.